Hello and welcome back to NJCDC's The Loft. Today, we welcome back Compete for Life. Can you gentlemen introduce yourselves?
My name is O'Neil Javier from Compete for Life.
My name is Steven Elstos. I'm also a student at Compete for Life.
Awesome. In recent episodes, we've been kind of discussing the more nerdy side of things, and today we're going to be following up on that to talk about the new Nintendo Direct that happened. And for those who don't know, the Nintendo Direct is kind of like a state of the union for Nintendo, showing off like their most recent games, their newest, and in this case, their newest console, which is the Nintendo Switch 2. And today we're going to kind of discuss what they talked about there. I know, Steven, you watched. Okay, so you've seen the Direct. You haven't, but that's okay. That's completely fine. So I want to kind of get your thoughts, firstly, on like the design of the Switch 2 and your features, and kind of explain to your fellow cohort here, what you like and dislike about this new console.
So one thing I was not expecting on the Switch 2 that they would introduce is the controllers, right? They can be used as a mouse. Right? You could like put them on the side. They start moving it around, clicking like a mouse, like a PC.
Yeah, it's like, so you know how like the Switch, the regular Nintendo Switch, you pull out the Joy-Cons, right? Mm-hmm. So basically you can use like the side of the Joy-Con, and like say if this is my phone here is the thing, you just go like this, you slide it around like that, and it's like a mouse,
And not just that, but also instead of coming off from the side, you just like take them off sideways,
Yeah, they're like magnetic, like super strong magnets and stuff. So that's very interesting design choices.
It's interesting, but I want to see how this gonna feel. I've seen like videos talking about like how up in person it looks like actually really good. The screen's like a lot bigger. The main focus, for me, the main thing about this is that it's a big jump. That Switch usually has 30 FPS. The original Switch, right? All it does is that it ports the screen onto your TV. But this, the Switch 2 apparently is gonna have like 4K resolution with like 120 FPS.
Yeah, that's what I've heard about it having 120 FPS.
And not only that, but I think the smaller screen, it still renders like pretty good. I think it has HD apparently in like 1080p.
Yeah, I know like one of the biggest gripes with the Nintendo Switch, like the original Nintendo Switch, is just that it's not as powerful as other consoles like the newer PlayStation 5 or the newer Xbox, right? So they're kind of catching up with this new console as far as actual performance, even even in handheld mode, which is really cool. Did you see also there's a new feature that they are introducing? Or if you guys have a PlayStation, you might be familiar with game sharing, right? Mm-hmm. So now they're doing something very similar with the new Nintendo Switch, which is introducing game sharing. So how do you guys feel about game sharing, like in general? Is that like one, like, are you like go up to your friend like, yo, can you please buy this game for me? And then like I'll just hop on your account or something? Like, how do you guys usually deliberate? Is this going to be useful? Is this a useful feature that they're going to?
It is definitely a useful feature, especially with the thought that the newer games are going to be like what, $80, $90?
Yeah, that's another big point we're going to talk about. Is the price of these. But some Nintendo games are like, most of them are single player. Some multiplayer games are like, that's where you would really consider like game sharing. So that's why I was curious, because a lot of the games are single player. But yeah, the price is a big thing.
That is a one thing everybody's talking about, because 80 low-key kind of pushing it. 90 is unnecessary. I'd say 70 is where like it's a good amount, because PlayStation 5 games, I'm pretty sure Xbox games have been $70, so that would have been a good price.
How do you feel about the prices for video games in general nowadays?
They're crazy, honestly, because I wanted that Miles Morales game. I forgot the name.
Yeah, Spider-Man Miles Morales.
$60. Oh, no. Same thing goes for God of War, I think it was called, and Elden Ring. No.
Well, I would say, so I think the most expensive out of the three is a $70 game. Like games have been $60 consistently for a while now. Like for like me, for example, when I was growing up, games were about like $60. And now with these new generation of consoles, they've kind of risen that price to $70.
Yeah, and I was like, I guess that makes sense for you're playing a game for like 4K, right? $70. It sounds like a reasonable price. Talking about the price, actually, the price for the Switch 2 being $450, I think. And
Yes.
a lot of people were like complaining about it, apparently.
Well, honestly, I did hear about those complaints. How do you guys feel about the price of the Switch?
It's fine. It makes sense because if we're gonna be playing at 4K, like 120 FPS, I mean that's like the main thing I think about because the PS5 is 4K, right? I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah, it runs 4K.
So if it runs at the same power as a PS5 when we thought it was gonna be the power of a PS4, why would it not be like almost as much as like a PlayStation?
Yeah, I agree.
Another thing is that a PlayStation 5 is like a home console. You can't just like take that wherever you go. Like a Switch 2, on the other hand, you can. Like you could just, it's a Switch. So you can just take it right off the dock, play wherever.
It's almost like the Quest 3. Pretty sure the Quest 2 was like $300. And then when the Quest 3 came out, it was like $500. Somewhere around the same budget as the Nintendo 3s that's coming out or is out. I don't know.
And you're talking about like the VR headset, right?
Yeah.
So does the VR headset, does the Quest 3 run like 4K?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, yes.
So like, I guess that's where like the $400 to $500 range starts coming in when you hear that 4K.
Well, when you think about it, when you think about a gaming PC, right? Gaming PCs can run about like a good PC is like $1,200. You know what I mean? Just getting all the parts and putting them together could cost even more, So I guess I understand maybe it's starting to get there. I hope it doesn't though. But I understand it's starting to creep up a little bit, just like these like average game prices. But I know the biggest thing as far as pricing goes with Nintendo Switch, right? So the new Mario Kart World game, which is one of the bigger games that they announced during this direct, right, is priced at $80. But I'm pretty sure the $80 for the digital version, right? This is the crazy thing. They have a separate price for the physical version to put in the game. It's $10 more, marked at $90. So that's, for me, that's insane, right? And this kind of harkens back. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Grand Theft Auto series, right? But they're coming out with the new GTA and it's going to be priced at $100. I'm pretty sure base price is going to be $100, right? And everyone's like, oh, I don't know. Like, maybe it will be worth $100 because it's like the most anticipated game of all time, I suppose. So like, I don't know, but I look at that and I'm like, man, this is setting a dangerous precedent for gamers. You know what I mean? Like how much games are actually like worth.
$100?
$100. That's supposedly
Bruh.
That's how much it's supposed to cost.
Can you imagine?
Yo,
they just start pricing games at 100 and above. I might as well just stick with like.
Well, some games now they're doing that. Well, not with like base game. They're doing like, deluxe or ultimate edition is $100 and something.
I guess that makes sense because you're buying like all the DLC and stuff. But for the regularly priced games, $90 is low key unnecessary.
Yeah,
$80 is pushing it.
I don't know, man. People are going to be pirating Nintendo game. Well, they can't. Like, Nintendo is usually very adamant or very on top of pirating and emulation and stuff like that. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. But I'm sure like they're going to come out with good games, right? Which kind of brings me to my next little point I wanted to talk about, which was the games that were announced during this new recent direct. Was there anything, I guess I'll ask Steven since you've seen it. So was there anything you saw in particular from that direct that you were particularly excited about?
Donkey Kong Bonanza.
Okay, so Donkey Kong Bonanza, and I'll explain it to you. So basically, imagine Mario Odyssey, but it's Donkey Kong, right? That's basically what this is.
That's literally what it is.
Yeah, and the entire world is like Donkey Kong can like dig and break everything. You know what I mean? So imagine a big sandbox where he's breaking through the sand and going anywhere he wants, making tunnels and stuff. So that's kind of like what this game is kind of looking like, and it looks really good. Right? Have you guys played any of the old Donkey Kong games?
Of course.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I've done Country.
What about you?
I've played maybe some of like the older ones. Like the majority of the games that I've played, they're like the 2D side scroller. So to see a 3D Donkey Kong game, it's kind of strange, but I'm welcome it. I welcome it, and I think this is gonna kick off like new Donkey Kong titles in the future as well.
That being said, I realize that like I'm not sure if I might be wrong, but is this like not like the first 3D Donkey Kong game since like 64?
I think so. Like I'm not super savvy on Donkey Kong. You know what I mean? Like I'm not a Donkey Kong guy. I was a Sonic kid. You know what I mean? But I know. I mean, majority of the main titles that I've seen in the past few years, like, has been like the 2D style, like platformer. You know, so to see this was a breath of fresh air for me. I'll say what mine is that's interesting. Let me think. I would say either the new FromSoft game, which looks like Elden Ring, but it's like vampires.
Oh, isn't it like an actual like it's a new game? They made a new Elden Ring like game, right? It's gonna be exclusive to the Switch too, and it's called. I'm pretty sure it's called Dusk Bloods, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, Duskbloods.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you played any of the Elden Ring or Elden Ring type games?
No, but I've watched my friend play it.
Yeah, and how's does it look fun? Is that kind of game like appealing to you?
Yeah,
It's like-
Yeah. Okay. All right. What's your gaming taste? What's your real taste in gaming?
I've never really played a story game, so I'm hoping to play one soon enough.
Okay.
Let's see. I like combat games mainly.
Okay.
Yeah, and also car games, mostly car games.
Car games?
Like
Do you
what?
have like a
Yeah,
a wheel and stuff? Nice.
Yeah.
That's fun. So let me ask you a question. So when you're talking about like you want to play a story mode game, you like kind of lean towards more realistic, like with a guy with a gun or something, or like a cartoony type, like a Mario Odyssey, like a like something more fantasy,
I'd have to go with the realistic type.
Okay.
I could recommend Last of Us.
Yeah, Last of Us is a really good one. I was actually going to recommend Uncharted, right?
Uncharted is also really good.
Yeah. I haven't played The Last of Us myself. I've seen some gameplay of it. It looks like very similar.
I guess to connect both of those games, they're both made by Naughty Dog.
They are.
So Last of Us was pricing, $70. But there you can buy the Uncharted trilogy. 3 games for the price of $20. Maybe $30. And then you could buy the 4th game for $20 as well. The whole 4 games plus Lost Legacy, also $20.
There you go. That's a steal. That's a steal right now. And for quality games too,
Quality games. All remastered.
There you go.
Yeah, they are.
Maybe if you both get Nintendo Switch 2s, you could just game share the story games. Donkey Kong Bonanza,
That being said, game share, I feel like it's gonna apply more to like multiplayer games because you play like with other people.
Exactly, yeah.
But that also reminds me of the virtual game card because I think that's what we're talking about or like thinking about maybe like the virtual game card is like you could lend your digital games that you buy. They're gonna be rendered as game cards basically, and you are gonna be able to like lend them to your friends, let them borrow it, let them play the game for like about 2 weeks, and then it gets automatically returned to you and stuff like that.
Okay, so that's more of the single player game, and like you give it to the. Maybe I just didn't understand that about the direct. So you.
No, it's because sorry to cut you off, but basically it was in the other direct, like the one before this one.
Okay.
And it was just it was basically what I just said.
Yeah, I saw they were talking about it in this current one too, and I just didn't really understand it too much. Besides the game sharing, because that's a concept I'm kind of like familiar with, right? But I know that's going to be very useful for games like Mario Kart World, and like maybe like they're also porting over. You can also play like compatible Nintendo Switch 1 games. You know what I mean? So that means like not everything's going to be compatible with the Switch 2.
That sucks.
Yeah, I know. I mean, they haven't really gone super in depth on it, but they did add that little caveat, which made me a little bit nervous. You know what I mean? So there's going to be 3 types of games you can play on the Switch 2. You can play Switch 2 games, straight up Switch 2 games. You got Nintendo Switch 1 games, right? That are compatible. And you have Nintendo Switch 1 upgraded games. So like, say for example, there's a new camera feature. You can use a camera with the Switch 2. That's something else you can use. You can get like a webcam, you get any webcam, like a cheap webcam, use it and it'll use it for like games and stuff, which is interesting. And say like you have like an old Mario Party that came out on the Switch 1. Then they'll use the features like a camera in these new games and add it for the Switch 2. You know what I mean? So there's all these different kinds of games. They're trying to keep the library open, but they are coming out with some new fun games. So we'll see. Are there any particular like Nintendo games that you would want on the new console? Like any like sequels for any games?
I can't really think of one, but Steven can already guess what I'm about to say.
Smash Bros.
No.
Okay.
Rocket League.
Rocket League? Yeah, they're probably gonna have Rocket League on.
They're
on the
definitely
Switch.
gonna have Rocket League. They
Because
had
it's
Rocket
free to
League on
play.
the first
Yeah.
Switch.
Yeah.
But could you imagine Rocket League? That's it. It's just Rocket League. There's not much to go there.
Yeah, because they're probably gonna have like Fortnite and stuff on there too. You know.
Yeah.
And it won't run bad.
Exactly.
Talking about a game running bad, you know, it's a game that had, I mean, from what I've heard, doesn't have a good reputation for running good.
What?
Hyrule Warriors.
Oh yeah, really?
That game always like, apparently the frame rates drop really low because, you know, the Switch couldn't handle like that many enemies on the screen. So the frame rates is like constantly dropping on the game. So since this game, I'm not the game, but the Switch 2 is going to have 4K 120 FPS.
Mm-hmm.
I just assume that, you know, it's going to be able to run without, you know, slowing down as much as the first Switch or like the older consoles.
Well, I remember when they were about to announce the Nintendo Switch, they didn't want to release any information about it because they didn't want their competitor, allegedly, they didn't want their competitors to take this idea, right? So they came up with a Switch 2, and so it kind of ran meh, right? And I feel like it's giving Stream Deck or Steam Deck. You know what I mean? Because the Steam Deck, my cousin, he has a Steam Deck, and I tried it out, and it's like that could run like 4K 120 FPS, I believe, right? Or something like that. It could run really well, right? So and I'm thinking of this now. I'm like, wow, like people really did like kind of take this console handheld combination and kind of like run with it, you know? So I'm pretty sure they are bringing back Hyrule Warriors for this new.
They are.
Yeah.
They are with the Age of Imprisonment game that they announced.
Is this a new game?
It's a new one, actually.
Oh, wow.
I think it takes place before Tears of the Kingdom, it said.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes.
So there was Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, the prequel to
Mhm.
Breath of the Wild, and then you play Age of Imprisonment and then Tears of the Kingdom.
Let me ask you a question. So there are, in every console has their own exclusive, game, right? Is now that the Switch 2 is also having like third-party support, right? Which is like all these other games are coming on, like Elden Ring, like the first Elden Ring, just the only Elden Ring, and like Cyberpunk they're putting on the console, and like a bunch of these other games, right? Do you think that you would buy the new Switch over the other consoles in this generation, based off of their exclusives? Because third party is no longer like, a problem with the Switch.
Yes.
Maybe.
Okay. So
Yeah.
what would they have to do? What would they have to do? Like, what games would they have to bring to the table for you to be like, okay, I would want to have a Switch over these other games?
Honestly, because I haven't really been thinking about buying a PS5 and stuff like that. One of my friends owned a Steam Deck, and they showed me, and I was just like, I think I want a Steam Deck more than a Nintendo.
That's fair. That's definitely fair. I don't know the price of a Steam Deck, but I imagine it has to be more affordable than the actual computer.
It's the same price as, it goes around $500 to $600.
Oh, okay. That kind of makes sense because it's like a PC basically, but like handheld. Because I'm thinking about these games. I'm like, okay, God of War, like the PlayStation games, eventually 2 years later, they're dropping on PC, right? And the same thing for Xbox. Xbox, they just go straight to PC, right? So I could understand like you being happy if you only had like a Switch, right? Because if you're a fan of Nintendo, what's like a dream game that you guys would want to have on the Switch? Like even if it's like an old game that no one really cares about, or you don't think no one cares about, like Tomodachi Life that they announced, right?
I remember a lot of people were like freaking out over that game.
Yeah, so that was a game where it's like, no way they're gonna bring this back, So is there any game like that for you guys where it's like, man, I want them to bring this series back?
I don't think so. Nothing pops up in my head at the moment. Probably after the podcast is done, though.
A long time ago, well, it wasn't, I don't know if it wasn't that long ago. There was a new Spider-Man coming out only for PS5, I'm pretty sure, which had Spider-Man can now fly and stuff. It has the Venom Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's on Nintendo, but if it was on Nintendo, that would be fire.
Okay, like bring over some of the other like exclusives to other platforms.
Yeah.
These other platforms.
Yeah. It's a recent new Spider-Man that's coming out or is out. I'm not sure.
I think like he said that the Steam Deck is $500 to $600. You'd be like, yeah, but that makes sense. It could play a lot of like older games. It could play Smash Bros. It could play a lot of Nintendo games too. I feel like I would probably still buy a Switch 2, probably because I'm just more biased towards that. Like, it's a Switch, so I could play it portably and like I could play it on the TV as well.
Okay.
Like, I could switch from dock to the TV, and also like, well, the Switch 2 is gonna have the Joy-Con, so you're gonna have like the two controllers right there by an extra pair.
Yeah.
What sucks is the price being like $90.
Yeah, I know. That's gonna be the big thing. And now like they canceled the pre-orders. That's supposed to go up, I think, tomorrow, April 9th, I think. They were supposed to go up, but because of the whole tariff situation going on in the United States, they like pause pre-orders. But they are adamant to say that the current release date is going to remain the release date, right? So a lot of people were thrown aback by this as well, you know. So it kind of sucks to see the current state of affairs of the world that we're trying to escape by playing video games, you know, to get delayed because of the things we're trying to escape from.
Another thing I wanted to bring up was I guess another thing that caught my attention, other than Donkey Kong, was that fact that they finally announced GameCube for Switch Online.
Oh yes. So like, what games are you gonna want to play?
No, the Mario Party games, definitely. If they add
Okay.
those as well. Mario Party 4.
Okay.
Wait, I don't know if that was, I forgot which one that was, but 4, 5, 6, 7. Maybe Mario Strikers as well.
All right, I got you. Did you play any like GameCube games back in the day? Were you a GameCube kid?
Nah.
Nah.
What did you play when you were younger then?
Honestly, it was just my brother's on a PS3. I was usually just watching TV or playing outside with the neighbors. And then it was just usually this game with these those things you use for Just Dance? Those little sticks.
like a Switch, like a Wii, like a Wii.
Was it a
remote?
PlayStation Move controller? It had like a ball or something?
Yeah, on top.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it's like
had
the
those.
Wii of PlayStation.
I remember
Yeah.
I remember those. I
Yeah.
got those because actually you had to use those for like the old PlayStation VR.
Yeah.
Talking about a VR, I remember seeing a lot of things for like other consoles, like, oh man, this is gonna be a huge competitor. Like, people might compare the Switch 2 to the Steam Deck, or the PlayStation VR 2, maybe like people comparing that to like the Meta Quest and stuff like that. There's just like a lot of new things coming out that at some point none of these consoles they might not have anything original anymore other than exclusives.
I guess so. Well, I mean, the exclusives are the real reason why you buy consoles,
Yeah.
right? Because you have these games that are really good, that have a good reputation, on like for example, like Sony, like Santa Monica, like these God of War games that they're making, like people really like them, and people really like Naughty Dog for the games that they make, right? And Nintendo, they come out with really good Mario games, they come out with really good Donkey Kong games, right? So if you're into Donkey Kong, into Mario, you're gonna get a Switch, so those are the things that are bringing people in for these consoles rather than getting like a PC. Like, for example, I had a PC, but when God of War was coming out, I was like, okay, now I really need to get a PS5, because I want to play the new God of War when it comes out. I don't want to wait 2 years and get spoiled for the whole story. I want to experience it myself, you
All
know?
right.
So I think that's fair. I think that's fair if that's the case. You know what I mean? Like I said, like third party is now going to be something that all these consoles are doing. You know what I mean? Like big third parties are going to the Switch 2 now. Before they were just on Xbox and PlayStation.
Yeah, so like that's like their big announcement. They're moving from like 30 to like 4K and stuff. Like the other consoles, they're gonna be just as good. It's gonna look just as good.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember talking about this with my siblings one time, saying how like 4K, 120, and whatever. It's like that's the cap, because I don't know how much farther you can go with these graphics. Like at some point, what else can they introduce? I guess I don't know. But I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
I'm saying like the main reason, you would buy a console is for the exclusives.
Is there any features you would want to see from the Switch 2?
I feel like I would probably won't know what I wanted until they announce it. You
Okay.
know, like I never knew I would want to see like the mouse feature that they were including.
Yeah.
That just sounds like it would be like really interesting to use.
I'd probably have to say the same thing as him. Just probably not until they announce it, because I can't really think of anything.
No,
But-
I get you.
But they always think outside the box. So
You know what I was thinking that they would do eventually? It's like, how you have like the Switch dock and you snap it into the dock, right? I always would think eventually they would do some sort of like VR headset type of thing where you snap the console onto like a pair of like VR goggles or something, you know, and then you would play in VR, right? But even though I know the screens are kind of different because they're kind of like curved and stuff.
I think I remember they did that. Remember, what is it? It was like cardboard, Nintendo Labo.
Yeah,
They-
but I don't think that was VR though. They did like kind of that was like augmented reality where you put you would have like this cardboard, you would build a piano with it, and you would put the Switch on the piano and you could play it and stuff.
Yeah, like basically it was like this old thing. It was like one of the things I really wanted to get. It was just like cardboard, right? You'd buy a box. It has cardboard. You like fold it up and everything. You connect them all like origami, right? And like what he said, you can make like a cardboard piano, but you like connect these wires into it and into the Switch, and you play the piano. It was so cool, and like they had like a robot fighting game and stuff like that.
That's fire.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to see what comes up with the new Switch 2
What are some things you would want to see?
that I would want to see
Like not just games in general, like anything.
from this new Nintendo
Yeah.
Switch. Well, they brought back Rhythm Heaven, which was I really was excited about that.
It was like
'cause-
a really like, oh
obscure.
my god.
Yeah, I know,
Really?
like big thing. I know. You know what? I'm gonna have to say Smash Bros. I'm gonna have to say Smash Bros. You know why? Because at the end of the Switch presentation, they announced a new Kirby Air Ride, and at first I was looking at it. I was looking at the star.
It's Smash Bros.
It's Smash Bros. I thought it was Smash Bros. And you got to remember, like when they were announcing characters for Smash Ultimate, it was like
the most amazing thing.
I know, like
the-
super hype events.
It was
you know
like
what I mean.
Like it was like after the whole Smash era ended, it sucked. Like I mean, it didn't suck in general. I mean, like the fact that this whole era of Smash Bros, like announcing the new fighter, like oh my god, when you see that not actual game footage thing
Yeah.
pop up, you're like, oh my god, it's the
Yeah,
new
I know,
character.
I know, and it's I know
It gives
it's
you
great.
this thrill. And after that, it was the Mario Kart Booster Pass for a lot of people actually.
Yeah, I know they brought back like a lot of like beloved stages for for Mario Kart 8. So yeah, I mean that's like it's really big, a really fun thing to do with like the homies, you know, just to kind of like, oh my god, is it gonna be Sora? No way, it's gonna be Sora. Man.
What do you think this is gonna be?
It's not gonna
Like,
be Sora.
And it was like the same vibe with like the Mario Kart Pass. Like, okay, what tracks do you want to see, guys?
Yeah, exactly,
People
exactly.
making predictions. So maybe, if anything, they could just do something like that again for like another game. I don't know what game, but you know.
Yeah, but I mean, I would want it to be Smash Bros. Just because I love Smash Bros.
Smash Bros.
But
in
I know
4K.
like they already have like probably 100 characters or something crazy like that. I think that's too much, but like they have a lot of characters. They did a lot with that game, and it was like super hype watching all these character reveals. You know, when they brought Sora in, I was in class. I was in a college class, and I just had it on the side, and I saw when it happened. I was like kind of I had to hold back my excitement, but I was just smiling like an idiot in class because I'm like, oh man, they did it.
Oh my
Those
God.
mad lads did it.
The fact that they call it, what was like his thing? It was like Sora is finally here, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
And the fact that his whole gameplay wasn't him fighting, it was just like it was so happy, you know.
It was. Because it's the last reveal, the last character, you know?
And I think apparently Masahiro Sakurai, right? He said that he was working on a big project, like I think before like the whole Smash thing ended, and it turned out to be the Kirby Air Riders.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why it looked like Smash Bros, because it was by Sakurai.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, yeah, Sakurai, he's the GOAT. He's the GOAT. And
He's
he made
the
Kirby. He made Kirby, so
another thing I would want to see on the Switch too. It's like asking a lot, I guess, because Sora was supposed to be the last fighter, but not a new game. Maybe an upgraded version of Smash Bros. 4K Smash Bros. That would go crazy. But a Smash Fighters Pass Volume 3.
yeah, like they add more characters.
Yeah, just
that,
more-
that would be actually that'd probably be perfect. So Sakurai doesn't have to do anymore, like build a whole new game. You could keep everyone, and then you can like add more characters, keep the hype train going,
If you just all they had to do is announce that they're making more fighters, and that's it. That's like all you need.
The internet's gonna break. I guarantee people are gonna be like not caring about the price tag. I mean, they're probably gonna complain about it, but they're still gonna do it because it's Smash Bros.
I still remember how like when they announced Steve, it literally
Oh my
broke
God,
Twitter.
Yeah, I know.
When Steve was announced for Smash Bros.
You know something? I hope if they do bring back Smash Ultimate, they have a new skin for Steve, and it's like Jack Black Steve.
Dude, that would be like,
Yeah.
you know what they need to do? If they announce a Switch enhanced, like a Switch 2 enhanced version, I really wish that they would make like not modded costumes, but maybe like, like how people wanted like a Luigi costume or like a Mr. L kind of costume.
Okay.
Like the kind of stuff Mario has, how he has like the wedding outfit, Builder Mario and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Like maybe Bowser could get a wedding outfit as well.
But yeah, so that's like, you know, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I'm sure they're gonna bring Smash. At the very least, they're gonna port Smash Ultimate. You know what I mean? So we'll see, man. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what the future holds for the Switch 2.
I love that thought. Like, what are they gonna do? Like, there's so many things they could do with like 4K.
Yo,
Switch.
I'm telling you, they're gonna do something, man. We're gonna have to wait and see. I don't know what they're gonna pull out of their hat, but it's gonna blow. I'm sure they're gonna break the internet a few times with this new console, you know. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap it up there. But thank you guys so much for coming on and talking in the podcast, you know. And I will see you guys next time. Thank you
for having us.
You're welcome.